Today, I have the pleasure of introducing a hero, perhaps an unsung hero, but nonetheless a hero, Brother Richard Bartee. Today is Friday, May the 11th, and it's my pleasure to welcome all of you to Conversations at Wadleigh. Brother Bartee,
Sir,
thank you for coming.
it's my pleasure indeed to be here.
Since we were on the subject of sheroes and heroes, I'd like to begin by asking you, who were some of the sheroes and heroes that influenced you, that shaped your life?
I think first and foremost, Cab Calloway, because he's a cousin, the third cousin, and that was one of our main claims to fame, that Cab Calloway is our cousin. I never met him. I met his wife ultimately at a memorial service at Riverside, St. John the Divine, and I dropped a few names and made the connection and was welcomed into the family, which was beautiful. But beyond Cab Calloway was Malcolm X, without question.
Okay. I've told the brothers and sisters assembled here something of who you are, but I would really like for you, in your own words, to give us, if you will, a biographical sketch of your life. I know that you were a policeman, for example. You're an artist. You are a wordsmith, if you will. But I'd like them to kind of touch you through your words. So if you could just tell us who you are, give us a biographical sketch of your life.
Okay, basically I'm the baby boy in our family of two brothers and a sister, and we grew up in the South, Florida specifically, and our mother brought us north to the promised land as migrant workers. We picked beans up the eastern seaboard, beans, carrots, anything that was grown, as a way to come up to the quote-unquote promised land. And that evolution of my life took me into Rochester, New York, and then into Syracuse, New York, where I graduated high school. Most of my athletic success was I was a high school All-American football player at Blodgett Vocational High School. And from there I went to Cortland State Teachers College, got married, dropped out, went back to school at Alfred State College, 1963. And in 1963 to 65, I was at Alfred, and on a tri-semester, you could go it was a two-year school, but you can go 2 semesters. It was a tri-semesters, so you go 2 semesters times 3 years, and you get out with an associate's degree. But I had another child, so I had to leave to get a job. But I had also taken the test for the police department. The Urban League, under the leadership of Whitney Young, who's a great civil rights leader, was recruiting black policemen. And I had no desire whatsoever to be a police officer. But I saw it as a means to an end to go to school under a program called the LEAP program, Law Enforcement Educational Act program, and go to law school. So when I got into law enforcement, I really saw that there was a schism, because police is a culture. It's not more than a job. An industry, it's a culture where you have personalities that are formed in that culture. But by and large, most African Americans have not historically been a part of that culture, so they have a difficult time fitting in to being one of the boys. So I had an episode where I was off duty, had to be involved with restraining one of my co-workers, who coincidentally happened to be white, who was, in my opinion, was verbally abusive and attempted to be physically abusive to a young African-American male. So in restraining him, the next day I was asked to come in and make a report about it, where I felt I was being charged with something. They didn't have a 48-hour rule for me or for anyone else back then. And this was 1971. And the process went like this. I felt I needed to talk to an attorney. They felt I needed to make the report. So sometimes, even when I stopped the young man from being physically and verbally abused, I felt maybe that may be the end of my police career, because of the psychology within that culture, you always protect your brother officer. But I'm here to say I candidly challenge any police officer to not do that, because you perpetuate a cancer in the integrity fiber of law enforcement. If a police officer commits a crime, I look at him, give him twice the time, because he's violated the integrity of his office. So that notwithstanding, I was suspended for refusing to obey a command, which was to write a report which I felt would be incriminating to me in a formal hearing. And realizing that choice, ultimately, the hearing was held without me and my attorneys there. I was found guilty and fired in absentia without me being there. But I had also lodged a complaint of discrimination with the State Division of Human Rights, which allowed me to have a public hearing, which I won, and was awarded full back pay, compensatory damages, and reinstatement. And that I thought would have redeemed me in the eyes of what I thought was right when you took a stand of that nature. But I also was in the ministry as well, so I felt spiritually I had some allegiance with the Most High God with me. So my fear was neutralized by the presence of Almighty God with me. So that was reversed, and I was awarded, my reinstatement was reversed by the Court of Appeals, and I was awarded $2,500, which was exactly the amount that I borrowed from the PBA credit union to buy my house, which was my pride and joy for my children. And I did a balancing act of raising my children, somewhat as a fugitive, or not a fugitive, but in exile from Syracuse, and for them to really turn out pretty good. Some are college graduates, and some are positive, productive citizens, in spite of what happened to me. So I think I want to say that I probably would serve as an example to brothers or sisters who get in a compromising position where you have to take a stand. If you take a stand, you take a fall. That means you don't lay down. You get back up, and you're ready to fight again.
And just that little episode, we're talking about heroes and sheroes today. It takes courage to take that kind of position. I dare say if more officers, and especially black men, black men and black women, those in blue, if they were to take that position, a lot of this madness that occurs in our communities perhaps would not occur, with the exception of maybe the 100 black men in law enforcement. I've met brothers in blue who act as if they're the Gestapo. So I have to applaud this brother for taking that stand. Those are the kinds of incidents that we refer to, and those are the kinds of things that brave men, or sheroes and heroes, have in common. They take an unpopular but a principled position. And that's something that we need to think about. We need to celebrate these kinds of heroes and sheroes in our communities. I'm sorry, my brother. I want you to finish that so we can move this along.
Even beyond that, the young man that I defended, when it came time for him to testify, his mother wouldn't even let him testify at my hearing. The civil rights, the human rights hearing, where I had a suit for $500,000. Okay. So but then again, that's part of the process. So out of that, I came to New York, and I met a young fellow, 10 years older than me, named Bama the Village Poet in Greenwich Village, and he had an album called Ghettos of the Mind, which is a profound album, and I'll make one available to you, because his insight really triggered my consciousness. We became partners in Greenwich Village and Washington Square Park and Albert Hotel, and we had a concept called Potential Unlimited Theater, which means you have unlimited potential as a poet. So we came to Harlem, we set up a theater where Kentucky Fried Chicken is today on 125th and Frederick Douglass Boulevard, on the third floor, where we produced poetry, published poets, and really went to hospitals and prisons. And I really approached it as a creative arts ministry. And even though there was different people, different religions, I think we need to have like an ecumenical approach. Whatever someone's faith is, you put your faith in action in the interest of our people, and what will happen, you'll see the impact of whatever your deity system is. And mutual respect comes with that too. But in that space and time, over a 9-year period, we produced a lot of poets. and a lot of poetry events. And we were known for not taking government money because it's part of the time I was suing the state of New York. So I thought it was a little hypocritical if I'm going to take money from someone I'm suing. And just under my leadership, that was just my stance. And I feel that what we accomplished really was phenomenal. It was revolutionary because we allowed people to have free expression. They paid if they wanted to. We ought to pay the rent, keep the phone on, keep the lights on, and be who we are. And it's a profound, it gives you a resolve that you can do that. And it can be done. And a lot of people thought we were out of our minds. But most of those people came through that process today. Some of them have their own publishing company. I have my own company, and some of the, like Mr. McIntosh mentioned, and we were off camera, Abiola Sinclair, one of the great female African-American historians and writers, was a part of that process. She wrote for the Amsterdam News. She has a Black History magazine, which is second to none. Camille Cosby and Bill Cosby supported her with a lot of other people. And that richness came right out of Harlem. And we were in love with Harlem because Harlem is a symbol without substance and on a level of economics, but we own the legacy of the creative literary genius, the creative arts genius from the Apollo and all that. We own that as a people. And I refuse to relinquish it to anybody because we earned it from the Apollo and the Cotton Club and all of that.
We're going to give you a chance to hear this brother, as an MC. I know he and Brother Ben were kind of kicking it at the top of the program. So we're gonna give you a chance to hear him so that you won't think that we're just talking about paper tigers, because this brother knows whereof he speaks. He's a pioneer, and his voice is a voice that should be revered. So we're going to move on and get these questions out of the way and give you a chance to kind of rock the house with him for just a minute, okay? But a couple of other questions that I wanted to ask Brother Bartee, because in addition to being an artist, he's a poet, and we want you to see him in all of his glory. We want him to be a mirror so that you all can realize that what he is, you can become. You can aspire to be anything that you want to do and be. This year, not this year, in 1998, there were two million youth marches, right? One here in Harlem, one headed by Brother Khalid, Dr. Khalid Muhammad, who is now deceased, and he was the leader and founder of the new Black Panther Party. That occurred here in Harlem, and I'm sure that most of you are aware of that. There was also another million youth march which occurred, I think it was in Washington. Million Youth March also, the one that I'm referring to. I think it was in Washington. But it was a march that was headed by the NAACP. There were 2 million youth march. Oh, was it Atlanta?
I don't know. Atlanta.
Okay, it might have been Atlanta. These two marches, unfortunately, didn't attract the kind of following from youth that we had hoped. And it left many thinkers, many activists in the Harlems of this country puzzled. There are those who said that Brother Khalid, Dr. Khalid, and other leaders like him had failed to pass the torch of leadership to the youth. And as a result of that, there wasn't this great outpouring that we had anticipated and hoped for. In fact, there was even, and I'll let you respond in just a minute, I just want to get this point out. There was even a brother, Ahmed Muhammad, who's a member of the Black Radical Congress. And he said something that really threw me for a loop when I read it, and it puzzled me. He said that the youth, this generation, and I quote, he said that this generation was more concerned with rap and not the map. And he said that because they were concerned with rap and not the map, they did not pass the torch of leadership down to these young brothers and sisters. And I was really puzzled about that. I mean, I can agree with some of the things that he said, but it concerned me. Having said that, how do you respond to that observation by him? Do you think it's true?
Well,
What can we do to change it?
I think it was just an individual's perception, and was probably the norm. I think that was just his view. But I applauded Dr. Khalid for, he challenged the right to meet, and they won. There was a constitutional question involved. It wasn't about him as a personality. They met the forces of this city and caused them to lose a lawsuit for the First Amendment right to a free speech, which occurred, and then the crowd was minimized by the way that the people were not permitted to come into that area. So that was one of the reasons for the turnout. But I think there is a disconnection to what Ahmed said, to the generation. I call it generation bridge, where nobody tells you about the toll that you're going to have to pay to come across and meet as a group, as a continuum of a culture. And I think what's happening now with the campaign for decency that Minister Conrad has initiated to clean up the rap industry. In fact, we were at a conference the other night. KRS-One was there, and I was on the panel along with Weldon Irvine, who wrote the song "To Be Young, Gifted, and Black." And we had that generation bridge in presence. I mean, I'm 57 years old, and we're talking to young rap artists who are really beyond just getting paid. A lot of them don't get paid like Mos Def and Talib and Common, because their message isn't profane, is not degrading our women, and all that. So there's a schism going on that some parts of this industry, the hip hop industry, supports the profane and not the profound. Because I don't think you have to be profane to be profound. I think it's a challenge to your creativity and intellect to have a greater command of the language.
You know, we're fortunate to have some heroes here. And one hero that all of us can agree upon in this space is, of course, Ms. Collins. She's a shero. And apropos what Brother Conrad is discussing now with respect to decency in rap, she and I have had a number of when I say she, I mean Ms. Collins, she and I have had a number of conversations about the vulgarity in rap, the use of that N-word a lot, and referring to sisters as bees and hoes. It always is like a slap in my face when I hear that. And I'm reminded when I talk to her how often it's necessary for us to remind our youth that we don't have to sink into the gutter to be profound or to be creative. Brother Conrad, incidentally, thanks to you and some others, is going to come here in a couple of weeks. But what really concerns us, and I'd like you to comment on it, is that when we use language to, particularly in light of it being Mother's Day on Sunday, when we use adjectives and words to describe our women in such a base and degrading way, what does that say to the world about us as a people? I cannot think of any other ethnic group that refers to their women as hoes. I mean, perhaps they do, but it really disturbs me. And what can you say to kind of pull the covers off?
I'd say very candidly that I studied with a great minister of this generation at times, Dr. A.R. Bernard, Reverend Dr. A.R. Bernard at the New York Christian Cultural Center out in Brooklyn. And then he says, your words create your world, first of all. And the kind of language you use attract the kind of people that are going to be in your life. And if you see the same kind of people being in your life using that kind of language, first of all, they've relinquished their cultural, spiritual power to, just very candidly, the Bible says, honor your mother and your father that your days may be long upon this earth. Now that's not a religious thing, that's a principle. That if I'm going to honor my parents, I couldn't be out there doing something that would really bring them shame and dishonor. They say, is that your son? You know, my son has a record company. He sent me some product. I told him, son, I can't support that, with that kind of content. I can take those same beats and beat anything you got on there with something more positive. But they're trying to get paid because they see the stereotypical guy living large with the SUV and the honeys and all that, and everybody wants that. And that's the magnet. It's a negative magnet that will corrode your consciousness. Because if your daughter wants to be like Little Kim, I don't think most people want their daughter to be like a Little Kim if they like Little Kim because of who she is projecting herself to be as the mother of a child or whatever. And I think along with we need to create an alternative. If we're going to say don't do well, let's support our young people in doing this rather than that. I think we are held accountable for not creating an alternative for you that's equally lucrative so that you're highlighted, accentuate the positive, as they say, and eliminate the negative.
Quite recently, BET was sold to Viacom, the company that owns CBS and I think UPN and MTV. And I read an article in Source magazine, and this brother was highly upset because he felt that Bob Johnson should have kept the ownership of BET in the family. It bothers me that white people, and I'm not hating white folks, that's not where I'm coming from, but it bothers me that white people are getting rich off our creativity. These brothers and sisters who are rappers, they're making chump change compared to what the owners of these companies are making. And Viacom is a juggernaut. I mean, they make billions of dollars. So when Bob Johnson sold BET, some people were highly upset. In fact, I was talking to Mr. Richardson earlier in the library, and one of the things that he said to me, and I can agree with this, from the perspective of just capitalism, that's what you would expect a capitalist to do, to make as much money as he possibly could. But he juxtaposed that comment with the observation that we as black people, and considering our history and what we have suffered and what we continue to suffer, it is important for us to bring another perspective to this whole equation. I mean, that brother, Bob Johnson, could have continued to make buku bucks and kept BET in the family. He could have passed it on. And some of you may disagree with me, but I believe, and I'm asking you, my brother, to respond to this. I think that somehow we have to make money. We need to eat, but we need to try and create a situation where our people can make capital and money in a way that will edify us. I can't think of any white company that has been purchased by any black folk. Viacom, wouldn't be sold to Bill Cosby. I mean, I can't think of any situation where that has occurred. And we need to be cognizant of that. And, we might say, well, why should they be concerned? You should be concerned because it's your world. I mean, I could check out of here tomorrow, and in terms of the time that I've spent on this earth, that's likely what's going to happen. This is your world. Tomorrow's yours. And we want to leave you empowered and strong. We want you to be heroes and sheroes just by standing up and doing what you have to do. But anyway, my brother, I just want you to kind of respond to that situation, the fact that we don't own BET anymore. And if I might add, one of the things that I used to check out BET, and I saw sisters showing more behind, and this is a company owned by a black man. And and everybody likes a good-looking woman. But I don't quite understand why, in order to sell, you have to show your cheeks 24/7. And we need to kind of think about that. Would you want your woman to be, on screen with her cheeks showing for the world to see? Think about it. Anyway, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it is a dilemma that we have in a capitalist society. So I had some ambivalence towards the whole scene. But if we understand the nature of capitalism and the capitalism of nature, that Brother Johnson invested in that to make money as a business person without having a cultural rationale. So if you have the cultural rationale, like Marcus Garvey would never have sold it. But then Marcus Garvey had a different consciousness. When he built on a economic blackness agenda. Now, when that opportunity came to sell that and make a substantial amount of money, he also needs to be commended, Johnson, for segueing into buying an airline, which an African American never owned. So that's the growth, and he still probably has some input in it. But personally, I didn't like a lot of programming that was happening on BET as well. My grandmother, this is a beautiful segue, I had to take care of my grandmother, and she had cable for 5 years and didn't realize it. And I was taking care of her, and I happened to turn on, and all I had it on was BET, all day and all night. And she looked at me and says, "Richard, what's going on? What's wrong with that television? All I see is black people all day." It was deep. I mean, it was profound. But then a lot of our people really don't need to be exposed or overexposed in such a way as a sexual symbol. Because if young men lust after women because of their flesh, then they'll never, I'd say behind rather than their mind, I think we'll end up with a lot of babies, and a lot of the lyrics seem to have the psychosexual projection that trigger those juices in everybody who was young at one time, and all that was unacceptable back in our day. And I think the consequences of what we're paying is the in crowds in jail and in prisons and in trouble, and a lot of young brothers who have babies are in prison, and the mothers are bringing the children up to see their father in jail, and we're feeding this prison industrial complex, and it's been, the engine of it is a lot of the entertainment. So the analysis of the challenges to the adults we really be sophisticated in the way we analyze what you're going to see, but really inspire you to really get more value out of, like the beauty of our whole history and culture. Like, Sojourner Truth, Harriet Tubman, and all those kinds of women who were strong, black women, and Latino women, and white women who were really standing up on the sexist, fighting the sexism is also pervading the society.
We're going to give you a chance to hear Brother Bartee. I just need to share something with you as we prepare for that, because he wants to wrap the robes of his ancestors around him as he shares some of his words with you. But this morning, I came across something that I thought was quite interesting, and as we go to a break, I just want to share this with you. I don't know if you can see this, but this is a cartoon that I found in the paper, and it says, "We passed laws to keep this from happening. It's something we in America fear that could change our world. It is unstoppable. It is irrepressible. It's a black man with knowledge. We want you to be black men and black women with some knowledge." Having said that, this brother's going to wrap himself in the robes of the ancestors, and we're going to come back and kick it. Good afternoon, and welcome back to Conversations at Wadleigh. I have the pleasure again of welcoming you, and I have the additional pleasure of introducing our brother Richard Calloway Bartee, poet extraordinaire, wordsmith. And I'd like to introduce him with just a very short piece from The Last Poets. Just because you're black. Just because you're black. You say you don't want to die because. I don't want to die because. You say you don't want to die because there's no cause to die for. Now, what would cause you to say that? Is it because you have a good job and a home in the suburbs? Or is it because you wear pink and yellows, causing all the sisters to scream from a cause unknown? Just because you seem to be satisfied, that's no cause to forget who is the cause of black people being exploited and oppressed. I hope you get a cause to die for soon, because you're gonna die anyway, just because you're black. Negroes and colored folks, it's glorious to die for a cause, but not because. Brother Richard Bartee. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I think the spirit of the segue is in effect, because I'm going to read something from a poetry book that we put out in 1975. And in it is a song poem. I'm also a poet singer. It's called Don't You Be Digging Me No Grave. And the last poet, Wadleigh, is a personal peer friend of mine. So that was right on time. Don't you be digging me no grave. Don't you be digging me no grave. I said, my love's not dead. Did you hear what I said? Can you dig it? Don't you be digging me no grave. I said, me and my friend Carrie, we were walking through the cemetery. We were talking about the people being buried alive. Then it got kind of scary. We heard the children singing, and the harmony in my ears kept ringing. It said, don't you be digging me no grave. 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 I said, my love's not dead. Did you hear what I said? Can you dig it? Don't you be digging me no grave. Sing for the children, y'all. Don't you be digging me no grave. As we walk and talk about the future foundation being laid, we kept on walking, talking, and we were truly afraid. Don't you be digging me no grave. A lot of people be standing on the corner. We're no better off than they are until we are a goner. In the meantime, sing this song, see if you can keep the children strong, because the people in the cemetery ain't got too much to say. They're just guilty of being innocent, lying there, waiting for judgment night or judgment day. Singing for the children, y'all. Don't you be digging me no grave. Don't you be digging me no grave. No, no, no. Don't you be digging me no grave. Say, my love's not dead. Did you hear what I said? Can you dig it? Don't you be digging me no grave. And right behind that, thank you. From the same book, which was co-authored by Jamel Karma, who was the artistic artist in residence at Poetential Unlimited Theater, along with Brother Richard Linwood Green. This is called Good to the Very Lost Drop. They are falling like featherless snowflakes, filled with unfulfilled dreams, bursting and shattering the spirits within them. And we, yes, we, alone are left to judge and analyze the act as heroin addicts and alcoholics float horizontally and or vertically to oblivion, evolving and revolving toward a collision with destiny. They are falling like featherless snowflakes. The melting mound disappears, and the memory of a lost generation haunts our subconscious mind until we see leaves falling in the fall, and the nightmare is deferred, and we see fewer of our people left automatically. Until the first snowfall, why is the snowman smiling? As I said, Bam in the Village Poet was one of my inspirations, is one of my inspirations forever, because we met in Washington Square Park, and he was drinking, was smoking, and he was a diamond in the rough. Sometimes the Creator will put things right next to you, so I respect all homeless people. In fact, you can learn something from a fool. You know that? You can learn not to be one. So this brother was not a fool. He challenged me on my own creativity, but he wrote a poem called Nothingness. So I'll do that, then I'll do something that I know triggered my conscience to write something to parallel it. And Nothingness, which is on his album Ghettos of the Mind, said, we all concern ourselves about the beauty and the significance of something, but have we ever stopped to think about the beauty and the significance of nothingness? I lay in the darkness looking at nothingness, but I saw it and understood it and understood the beauty of it. And while looking at nothingness, I heard the silence. It too was beautiful. It toyed with the strings of my heart as though a symphony. All this beauty came from nothingness. And it made me tremble to imagine what something would be like. After many years of nothingness, I concluded, compared to something, it was still nothing. Nothing. That's vintage Bama. So I wrote this piece because African American people who made it across that middle passage with the cream of the crop from the top of the top, chumps did make it. Not that I'm going to call them chumps, but those, only the strong survived that trip. But they brought masons, they brought carpenters, they brought builders, they brought all kinds of people who built this country and never got paid. And reparations for me is a real deal issue. A lot of people are getting paid around the planet, in Germany and here. The Japanese people were paid for being put in internment camps during World War II. But they told you sometimes you're nothing. I want to tell you, do you know what a slave is, by the way? Just quickly, anybody. What's a slave? Bop! A slave was not a person. They weren't considered people. A slave was a commodity meant for sale and use and abuse. So I just wanted to stop you right there on that. Thank you. Not to embarrass you, but really to unconsciously, we give ourselves a sense of humanity, but historically a slave was not a person. He was 3/5 of a human being. And in this Constitution, even God's name was used along with that misperception of the totality of who we are as a people of African descent. But he said you're nothing, but you're a great labor force. Something about nothing. Before, in the beginning, there was nothing. Nothing but a whole lot of absolutely nothing. As far as you could see was nothing. Only thing happening was nothing. You couldn't hear nothing because there was nothing to hear nothing except nothing. So one fine time out of nowhere, and everybody knows where nowhere is, right? Nobody knows where nowhere is, but out of nowhere, something found time and came along right on time. Zoom, 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 zoom. Zoom, 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 zoom. Something came along, looked here, looked there, looked everywhere, and said, there's nothing here. But a whole lot of nothing. Said, I can't see nothing, I can't do nothing, there's nothing here, do nothing with it. And who wants to do nothing with nothing? Nothing didn't say nothing. Nothing just listened to something go on and 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 on for eons. Then nothing got tired and said, hold it, something. Said, who's that? Nothing said, it's nothing. So you have nothing to fear in this atmosphere. But I just want to make it perfectly clear in your ear, I'm also here. Some could avoid being kind of scared and paranoid, thinking that something would be destroyed by. Nothing. Then nothing said, let me tell you something. Even though I'm nothing, I'm still something. I'm the something that's got you surrounded. I'm the something that's holding you up. Something's holding me up. Some thought it was a stick up. So in self-defense, something swung at nothing. Didn't hit nothing. There was nothing to hit. Then something swung at nothing again. Missed and fell, but didn't fall on nothing. There was nothing to fall on. So the scuffle went on and on in the dark. Some swinging at nothing, some swinging at nothing. And triple darkness. You know what triple darkness is, brother with the shades? You know what triple darkness is? You know what triple darkness is? It's 3 times darker than real dark, right? In triple darkness, a voice said, let there be light. Now we can see this fight. Something called day, taking a 24-hour swing at nothing called night. Day after night, night after day, day after night, night after day, day after night, night after day, and nobody knows who's going to win until the end of one fine time, and that's the truth about something and about nothing as it melodiously and creatively flowed through my mind. Part 1. Here's the punchline. I'm almost out. About 6:30 in the morning, one morning, something snuck up on nothing. Swung at nothing, missed nothing. Bam! Hit nothing's daughter. It's a family story. Nothing had a cute little daughter named Dawn. Something struck Dawn about 6:30 in the morning. Hit her right here, cracked her head open. That's where the crack of dawn came from. That's where the expression of crack of dawn probably came from. See? But that was before the dawn of crack cocaine. You see cocaine in your brain ain't nothing but the devil. Don't let the devil turn out to be cocaine in your brain. Don't give the devil a chance to do a victory dance. Inside your head, in your parents' hearts. More hugging, no drugging. More hugging, no more slugging. And no more silence about all this domestic violence. Now part 3, Nothing also had 2 twin sons, right? One named Rise, one named Set. You can tell them apart because Set was always sitting down, right? And Rise was always standing next to Dawn. So Dawn goes over to Set and says, Set, get up, Set. Look at my forehead. This family's supposed to stick together. Let's do something about something. Set said, don't get me upset, Dawn. Get up, Set. Don't get me upset. Get up, Set. Don't get me upset. Finally, Set got up. So now you made me upset. Dawn, I saw the whole thing. If you didn't get in the way of something, nothing wouldn't have happened. Then he thought, wait a minute, I have a battle plan. Now don't upset my battle plan. Dawn, you and Rice go to the east. I'll go to the west. And tomorrow evening you meet me right here, and we'll get even with something tomorrow evening. We'll put something on something tomorrow evening. We'll put a whipping on something tomorrow evening. Even though you think I'm odd, we'll get even with something tomorrow evening. So then he said, on your mark, get Rise, and go. He said talking. So you watch them go out of sight. He says, I fooled them. They got to go all the way around the universe. Oh, I fooled them. I fooled them. He said, wait a minute. What if some showed up, try to put something on me? So he waited all day. He waited all day. You know who finally showed up, man? You know who finally showed up? Darkness. Darkness showed up. He couldn't see something or nothing. So he looked in this real black hole, and he saw this light coming. He said, oh, no, here comes something now. What am I going to do? I need my family with me. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? They got closer and closer and closer. He said, wait a minute. That's the two of them. That's Dawn and Rise. So he got cool, got his composure. They got about right here. He said, wait a minute, hold it. Where were you two yesterday? Us families are supposed to stick together and all that stuff. Y'all leave me out here hanging? Where were you two yesterday? They said, Set, on our way here, we decided to forgive and forget. You got that, Set? Because in forgiveness, there's healing. Repeat after me. Say, in forgiveness, there's healing. In forgiveness, there's healing. And we like the feeling. And we're going to be on our merry way. So he watched them go out of sight. He said, well, I'm not forgiving, I'm not forgetting. I'll be sitting right here in the west, and this is where I'll be sitting from now on. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, ever since then, nothing sunset has been setting in the west. And the moral of this story is, if you're ever going to do something about something, do it before sunset, or you get caught sitting on your assets in the dark. That's the truth. So that little piece has gave me a little something, along with more hugging, less mugging. But there's a reality that's facing us as a people. And I'm 10 grandchildren, 7 children, 1 great-granddaughter. And I say I am blessed to have been through what I've been through, to still be here to be able to talk about it and know that I'm wealthy, not rich. Because when you're rich, you got to pay somebody to protect your money. When you're wealthy, you have peace of mind that all the money in the world can't buy you. And when you have peace of mind and you're secure that you're connected to the Most High, and His high is cheaper and deeper, so if you want to get high, you go from the inside out. It don't cost you a dime. It costs you a little bit of time. And I think what's happening here at Wadleigh, I'm just blessed and honored to be able to have Brother McIntosh and Sister Collins agree to have me come through here, just plant a few seeds. So I do a thing called egonomics. A lot of artists don't work together because of ego. You see how groups break up? Diana Ross and the Supremes start out as the Supremes, isn't that right? And it starts out with the Jackson 5, and then it's Michael Jackson and the Jackson 5, and there's Michael, and there's everybody spread all over the place. There's New Edition, right? Then there's New Kids on the Block, which came by the same black producer, Marie Starr, who took 5 Caucasian boys who said, listen, we're splitting everything down the middle, and we're going to meet at the bank. And they did, and then they broke up and went their separate ways. Bobby Brown is here, Ralph Tresvant is somewhere. But that whole psychology of what slaves, ex-slaves can or cannot do is really exposed as a fallacy, because anybody, like as Don King says, only in America can some ex-slaves make all the money in the world and have their self-respect. And we are, as African Americans, or folks who were born here and went through all this segregation, the Ku Klux Klans, the chains and dogs and whips and all that, we know this society better than anybody in the world. And it's all available to us. Repeat after me. Say, I am the poem. Life is my book. Every day is my page for me to be on, for me to see myself, be in myself like no one else can be. So I leave you with this. I also go by the handle of great grandpapa, the hip hopper, the rhyme dropper, the crime stopper, late bloomer, the baby boomer, creating room the bloom, wiping out the gloom and doom. As I said, I'm the one, son. Getting the job done, son. I'm something new under the sun, son. Under the moon, too. I'm here in June, too. What do you mean I may be here in May? This May, I'm going to be here every doggone day. Jack of all trades, master of. Fun's well the pun, but I'm not Big Pun. He's one trying to get the job done. Tell Fat Joe, come on, kind of flow. Tell DMX, don't get vexed. I'm coming out next. Won't be drugs and thugs, won't be sex. Got bills to pay, I got something to say. Because y'all going to make me use my mind. Up in here, up in here. And DMX and I know each other, too, so it's no thing.
Can you feel it? Can you feel him? We may have time for just a couple of questions. I realize the time is almost over. We're going to have Brother Bartee back again so that he can share some more of his gifts with us. I know that Naomi said that she had a question. So we'd like to take one or two questions, and then we'll let Brother Bartee close. I have a request of him in light of the fact that it's Mother's Day, and he's written a poem about Mother's Day, and I'd like him to end with that if we could. Naomi, would you like to?
I forgot my question already, but I have a good comment. I think he was I like all them poems and stuff. They was real interesting. I like the last stanza you just said. That was real interesting, funny.
Thank you.
Okay. Brother Ben.
You said when you was a police officer that you got kicked out, and then they accepted you back. I wanted to know what y'all.
Well, they didn't accept me back. The lawsuit we won, and it was reversed in the courts after 5 years of litigation.
You ain't get to go back to work?
No.
Oh,
but there's a scripture that says, "Who the Son sets free is free indeed." I was set free from that job to better serve a wider range of young people all over this country, all over this world.
Naomi has another question.
Did you really want to become a cop, or did you just need the money because you was having another baby?
No, I don't want to be a cop. See, just where you say cop, I want to be a police officer. I think there's something in the
Difference?
Yeah, there's difference. A police officer is a professional who greets people with respect. A cop is some guy with his hat on sideways saying, "Give me your license and registration, pal." A police officer says, "Your license and registration, sir," and if he goes into Mrs. Goldberg's home, it's Mrs. Goldberg or Mrs. O'Leary, and then it's Mrs. Johnson, it's not Beulah or Carroll. It's mutual respect of everyone across the board. The title is called peace officer, more than police officer. He's there to keep the peace and public safety. He's only a law enforcement officer when the law is broken. So there's a range of depth and breadth to that job. It's a good job. And I urge anyone to go into it with the same fervor as a profession and command that people are professional around you.
Thank you.
We have time for one more question before Brother Bartee concludes. Inasmuch as Mother's Day is on Sunday, I'd like to dedicate his coming, his presence here, to mothers everywhere, because they are, perhaps more than any other people on the face of the earth, and especially women of color, they are the true heroes and sheroes of this world. Having said that, my brother, I'm going to step out of the light and ask you to conclude with exactly. Thank you.
Okay. Well, the song poem that I'm going to do, my wife inspired me to write it, so I share it in ownership with her. And whenever I think of mothers, I think of like Queen Mother Moore and Sister Alma John. These are great African warrior women who grew up in our community and inspired me and embraced me as a mother. And the song is, I need a little help with the rhythm. You are the best mom that anyone could ever have. You are the best mom that anyone could have ever had. And we just want you to know love you, love you, love you, love you, love you so. I said you are the best mom anyone could have ever had. You are the best mom anyone could ever have. And we just want you to know that we love you, love you, love you, love you, love you so. You see, there's no better mom, no, no, that looks better than you to us. There's no better mom, no, no, that cooks better than you for us. You're the best mom. You're our leading lady. You are the very best mom. You're the star of our show. You are the best mom that anyone could have ever had. And we just want you to know that we love you, love you, love you, love you so. Now Mother's Day comes once a year. This we know is true. But every day in our hearts is Mother's Day, 'cause every day we're thinking about you. You are the best mom anyone could have ever had. You are the best mom anyone could ever have. And we just want you to know, come on, love you, love you, love you, love you so. Just want you to know, Mom, we love you, love you, love you. Just want you to know, hey, Mom, we're always thinking of you. And the way that we walk, the way that we talk, the way that we carry ourselves, well, we won't let nobody put our culture up on their shelves. Hi, you are the best, Mom, very best Mom. I was fighting the summer cold. I wasn't laughing. I had a tickle in my throat. No.
As we celebrate Mother's Day, to all the sisters in the audience, all of the mothers of the world, we love you, we embrace you. Brother Bartee, thank you for coming today.
Thank you.
And the young brothers in the audience, stand up, be strong. You are tomorrow's Malcolms. You can change the world. You can change the world. Peace.